Hi, it's Annie back with part 2 of the cards and the feel for 2023, what the general energy is for all of us. I hope that you've managed to get through part 1 and that you're ready to have a listen to what part 2 is going to bring. What's the second half of 2023 going to be like? So I'm going to start with the cards that comes up for July. Just a reminder, she says, that I am using the John Holland deck in order to give me kind of the overall energy feel. I'm using my Angels, Gods and Goddesses deck to help me to see what the assisting energies, which energy beings are helping us in any particular month. And I'm using my Priestess of the Light oracle cards, because this is a year where we've got increased divine feminine energy. It's on the rise and we need to start playing to that strength, using that energy. So for July, I find the July card, we've got positive movement forward. Okay. Sailing into the sunset, as I like to call this card. So we've had a kind of a heavy-ish start to the year on a global level. On a personal level, it might be quite different. And that's why what you often need to do is your own personal cards, because you're dealing with the energies, but you're also dealing with what's personal to you. But certainly revelations about the truths we're not seeing and the structures that need to change and actively need to be changed. So when we get to July, it's actually quite lovely to have this pause and feel the momentum moving forward. I feel like July there will be agreements and contracts, things signed up to that are actually meaningful, and that we can find that we're breathing a sigh of relief. It's going to be a bit more plain sailing, particularly in looking at how we operate as a community, how we operate as a global body of human beings, and some peaceful leads being taken. I mean, we're still going to have stuff to sort out, but there is change that's worked. There are things that are being put in place or have come into place that honour the fact that we are all human beings and we're all connected, and that what affects one person eventually affects everybody. So I get a very positive feel for July in that respect, and a chance for us to regroup, being able to maybe say, right, where are we now and what still needs doing? Because it doesn't change overnight. I mean, it takes centuries to change anything. I'm just reminded of women's suffrage, getting the vote. What's changed in 100 years? Well, we're still arguing about who can vote and who can't. And, part of that is still maybe making it a bit more difficult for certain people to vote. Part of it is about trying to kind of say, I have to win, and the ways in which we encourage people to have a view and vote. So some interesting stuff in July around that. Beginning to think there might be a general election in the UK in July. Interesting. Okay. So who's helping in July is the Goddess of Justice. When things are unjust, it's quite difficult for us to see that sometimes an injustice is a blessing, because what it makes us recognize is where the structure and the system is out of balance, that we aren't appropriately handling things. And one of the things that I think for me about the goddess of justice is to help put things into perspective. Justice is, as a system, doesn't work. It doesn't work across the world. It definitely doesn't work because there are so many ways that injustice is carried out in the system that's supposed to be full of justice. But what it makes us do is it makes us stop and think about the ways that we treat each other and the ways in which people feel that they have to win the justice or their case or their point, when actually we should be tackling why it ever got to be a case in the first place. You know, we need to look at the injustice, where's it being created and how do we deal with that rather than the end result. So for me, with the positive movement forward, I feel July is about, once again, identifying where are the injustices, where's it out of balance, not just in any justice or legal system, but in our human being rules, if you like. We have social and rules, and we have community rules, and looking at all of that and kind of going, well, wait a minute, is this balanced right? Does it give enough to everybody, or are we actually concentrating things so that only certain people can get what they want and others can't? Interesting to have her pop up in July when we're having a pause and looking at what's next and how to move forward. Oh, and the other goddess that's come out is the goddess of telepathy. Transmission, perception, communication. In order to change and in order to achieve something more equitable, we do have to communicate, we do have to understand. And I feel like July is kind of an open door about trying and having opportunities to understand other people's points of view, to actually encompass that idea that we don't all have to agree that everything's exactly the same. That's authoritarian, but we can have difference of opinion, and that the vibrancy of the difference of opinion is what matters. And in that way, kind of mind to mind, telepathically, we can share those opinions, and we can work from what we can agree on rather than what we disagree on. That we communicate our visions and we communicate what we see, and that it goes from mind to mind. So I expect July to be quite a strong month for people getting a shared understanding of the challenges that face the human race, and stepping back from maybe what we are told in some outlets, but actually having a clearer intuitive knowing of what we face. So that'll be interesting, because I'm all for let the intuition rise, let everybody recognize they're intuitive. If we did, we'd be far better. That's my opinion. So let's see what August is going to be about. Ooh, August. Oh, mental conflict. Okay. We spend a lot of our time as human beings trying to work out what we think. We're not very good at working out what we feel. So you can imagine we're also not very good at working out what we think. And because we often have competing parts of ourselves in our heads, we have many different perspectives, many different voices. It's hard to kind of work through and process it. So I want to say August is a month of processing what we think rather than what we feel. Understanding where some of our thinking may have become flawed, or some of our thinking may have become more positive, and working through those challenges in the way we think about the world. Again, I feel like with this, we're talking maybe even understanding from a religious point of view, you know, that at the core is something beautiful, but surrounding it is all this thought that's become rigid and codified and become rules. Mental conflict is often about the rules, about trying to work out which is the rule to follow. And I get that sense in August that we will be trying to figure out which rules to follow, what's the right way. I do feel like we've got sporadic acts of violence, shocking acts of violence committed by individuals, not necessarily by groups, but by individuals. And the argument is they're in mental conflict. And it starts us having the debate, well, wait a minute, you know, what is mental conflict? Is it mental illness? Is it natural? Is it a positive part of being human? And do we have in the right forums to help us to get that thought out of our head and into the world, so that we can use a sounding board of the rest of humanity? So interesting, because we tend to be very hard on ourselves as human beings in a lot of ways, and then not disciplined enough in other ways. And clarifying our thoughts, processing our thoughts, is something we struggle with quite a bit. So interesting that that's coming in August. I'm going to see who else. Oh, right. The angel of space clearing. Couldn't have come at a better time, because what tends to happen is that we clutter our minds. And this angel's message is, it is time to clear old negative thoughts and feelings. Perfect month to do it in, when we're noticing them, when they're coming to the surface. And creating space. You can't dream and vision if you don't have space, if your head is so cluttered with all the thoughts and the what ifs. And often it's the spaghetti of thoughts, because we haven't let go of all the past thoughts we've been thinking, and we're overthinking and trying to drive things from achieve, rather than, wait a minute, let's just work out what these thoughts represent. So the angel of space clearing is here to help us in August to get a clear head, to as a human race start to have the space for the debate, to have the space to say what we actually think. It's crept out now and again, but for us to really say what we think. So I want to say there are going to be some shocks, because there are going to be people who you would not expect saying thoughts that they have, that you're going, oh, really? And it's all part of this energy flow to get us to be clear-minded, to have that space for the solutions to come in, especially as they're creative new solutions. The goddess assisting us is balance. Bless her. Stability and standing firm. While we're clearing our head as a human race, that's one of the things we have to kind of do, is try and hold the balance, to not overbalance from overthinking, or to underbalance from underthinking, because underthinking is as difficult a challenge as overthinking. If we're not questioning and querying, we're following along without thinking at all, and not thinking through what we're going to, what the consequences are. So balance is reminding us in August that we will be noticing where we got out of balance, and where we need to kind of deal with our thoughts to bring ourselves back into balance. there are so many beliefs that circulate around the human race about what being human is, that just always strike me as a bit wrong-headed. Not necessarily kind or compassionate. There's one of the beliefs that springs to mind, and this might be the August energy in itself, is this idea that my needs come above everybody else's needs. The idea that we've got a selfish gene, that somehow we'll grab all the resources and all the everythings because we are the ones who need to survive, the drive to survive. And actually that's a bit wrong-headed, because when you look at humanity and you look at what we actually do as a human race, most of the time we're trying to help one another. Most of the time we're trying to be compassionate and kind to each other. And most of the time we recognize that we are happier, more joyful individuals when we are part of the community. And being part of the community is also about being able to give and take and share. So balance is going to help us with that mental conflict, working out what is a good thought process and what isn't. So into September. Ooh, okay. We've got discontent and boredom in September. Sometimes, even though everything's going well, we want more. And we want things to change, or we want our situation to be better, and it isn't, and we get bored and we get fed up and we get annoyed and irritable. So September's going to be an irritable month, particularly because we made promises to change and maybe it doesn't look like it's happening. Maybe it looks like we're going back into the same old, particularly around finance in September. I think there's some heavy energy about finance, and we haven't got a system that works fairly for everybody, and we can't agree that actually everybody should have a fair share of the resources. So I think there's the sense in this card of the kind of, well, yeah, I might have a castle, I might have everything, but I still have nothing kind of feeling. I'm discontented and I don't know what to do about it, because I don't know what to do with myself. I don't know how to change that. So it's quite a challenging energy to keep motivated, to keep active, to keep understanding that it isn't a perfectly perfect world, that in order for us to live our best life, sometimes we have to do the gritty knitting bits. I nearly said another word then. So helping us with that is the angel of clearing. Here she is, beautiful, beautiful angel of clearing. And she's reminding you your time of waiting and confusion will soon be over. So it's like, stay in the place of recognizing this discontent and boredom is because stuff isn't quite happening as you hoped, but also that you need to clear out. Are you still thinking muddled thoughts? Are you still feeling negative feelings? Have you still got around you lots of material things that actually don't matter anymore and that could easily be moved on? Have you got old patterns operating that are just difficult to shift? The angel of clearing can help you to recognize now's the time. When you're discontented and bored, give yourself something to do. Have a massive clear out. Okay, and the divine energy, the divine feminine energy, is go with the flow, mirroring that angel of clearing, letting go, clearing and receiving. Because if you make space in your life, then you've an opportunity for new things to come in. And certainly where boredom's concerned, it's often because we're doing the same old, and we haven't let that new in. We've refused to receive it because we've stuck with our old pattern. So through September, taking it very gentle and letting yourself just move through the energy, as easily and lightly as you can. Listen to the support and the guidance, listen to the encouragement that's around you. A lot of the human race is waiting for powerful, positive change. And it sometimes seems like, oh, it's a million years away yet, but go with the flow. Take each day as it arrives, let your blessings come in, count your blessings, and remind yourself that change takes time. We're doing the inner change. Humans have to change inwardly before they can change outwardly. And changing inwardly means going in and exploring all that cruddy shadow side. And that's the process this year. So it is going to be about letting it just emerge and be released. Okay, into October. Where did I have you? Oh, October, base chakra. We can't have our most powerful, best lives if we wobble. If we wobble, and if we're wobbling root chakra, we're wobbling all the way up through our chakras. And what that means is our energy is like this. So we don't know what we want. And we act out of fears and out of negativities if we're in a wobble. So October is about reminding ourselves that we are rooted in this earth, that we are safe and secure, that we are beings who can turn our hand to anything. There's a general air of uncertainty in October, but underneath it, most curiously, is a sense of stability. Stability achieved from within, not from the external stuff. If we recognize and nurture our root chakra and say, look, you can turn your hand, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. If we can help ourselves recognize that this life is a short trip and that we're going back somewhere else and it's going to be fine anyway, if we can recognize that just as we manifest our fears, we can manifest our dreams, we can help our root chakra to be nice and steady. It also means that the world's root chakra is going to be having a wobble. The earth is trying to show us quite clearly that she's not comfortable. She's not feeling secure because she doesn't know what we're going to do. Are we going to end up really destroying her? You know, we have the power. We have the nuclear power to lay waste to this planet. And that bothers the earth, of course, because we haven't shown that we're capable of not doing that particularly well. So in October, expect quite a lot of fear mongering, quite a lot of trying to drive people through fear rather than through the positive leadership. We've got a shift coming in October. The governing by fear is actually in its death throes. And there's a big attempt in October, a final last blast, almost like a nuclear option, but I don't mean an actual physical nuclear bomb, but an action of explosive proportion trying to get us to react and respond in fear. And we've got to hold it steady. The message from October is that actually we always survive. Never mind them saying the cockroaches would take over the earth. We're the cockroaches. We survive. You know, you look at what people endure and what happens, and people end up surviving. So the message for October is that the one from Gloria Gaynor, I will survive, even if you know, the messaging that's going on in the outer world is about, you know, you won't survive, or fear, fear, fear. Actually, you will survive. And whatever these tussles for power are, it's the death throes of old ideas and old patterns. And in a sense, the death throes of civilization, what we think of as civilization. Because if you look back in your history, every civilization passes. Every single one passes. Usually not very easily, because we don't like change. We're not accustomed to change. We don't learn to live and love change. So that's October energy. What we've got to help us is the angel of prayer. And it says, ask the universe and the angels for help and guidance. Now, I love prayer, the word prayer, in a non-religious way. I love that we can ask, we can set an intention, we can request, we can shape the energy that's coming in, because that's what a prayer is, that's what an intention is. We can shape the energy that's coming in to deliver more of what we need, more of the good stuff, more of what we require and desire, if we form our prayer in the right way. So in October, it's about setting your intentions, making clear what you want to have happen for you, and encouraging others to share their prayerfulness or their intention setting, to ask for communal vision. So instead of me being the one who says, please, can we end the situation between the war between Russia and Ukraine in a peaceful way, that everybody is asking for that. Or maybe in October, we need to be asking for people to realise that we are safe and secure, that our needs will be met if we let them be met, that our needs will be fulfilled if we change the ways in which we are structured. So what will help you through that turbulent energy in October is that intention setting, and joining in that sense of intention setting with everybody else. Asking for the civilization to end with ease and grace, not praying to hang on to what you've got, because we sometimes have to pray to let it go and allow the new to unite us and to find us and to bring quite a different prayer. The goddess energy of October is sacred action, decisive focus. Now, for me, that perfectly aligns with prayer. We set our intention, but it's not enough. We have to take some form of action to show the universe, to shape the energy. That's what a spell is. A spell is a setting of an intention and then taking some action that backs up what the desired outcome is. So I might say, I want to go to America. I want the funds to go to America, let's just say. Right, I'll set that prayer. I want to go to America because I want to be able to present this to this group. Okay, there's an intention. But unless I sort of set aside a bit of my money and say that's my America trip, or I make contact with the group I want to talk to and say, would that work for you? And make arrangements. Unless I take some action, it's not going to happen. It's just going to be a pipe dream. So sacred action is tuning into what's in the heart, tuning into the wobble and the steady, you know, our basic needs. There are some things that are fulfilled, that we're happy. We don't wobble in our root chakra. You know, whether it's we've already owned our home, whether it's because we have a good job, whether it's because we're well fed, or that we've got we're using all our abilities, whether it's because we're connected and loved and able to love so many. Not everything in root chakra wobbles. So if we can remember to take action from the part of us that isn't wobbly, and that we can use our intentions to say, this is how we want to stop the universal wobble of the world, that's amazing. And I wouldn't be surprised if more and more people are giving that message in October. Join together. Let's bring ourselves together as groups. Let's focus. Let's bring that action, whatever it may be, that gets the energy shaped up in the right direction. So, November. Ooh, destiny. I love destiny here. This is a lovely card. Because it reminds us that there's something else in operation as well as free will. People get very confused. Oh, but can't I choose? Yeah, we do have free will, but there's also an element of destiny. For me, what we've done before we came in was we've sat and we've worked out what we want to achieve in this life, what growth, what spiritual growth do we want to achieve. And that's our destiny, that's our path. Okay, how we achieve it is down to free will. We can go that path or that path, but our destiny is the overarching lesson we want to learn, or the growth we want to have. So for me in November, there are lessons coming forward across the world about what is it that we're aiming for, what's our global vision, what's our mission. And I often talk about children, the children 7 generations hence. You know, what are we planning? What are we doing right now in terms of what we hand on to those great grandchildren? As global citizens, what is it that we are setting in motion that will be their destiny? You know, this is a biggie about climate change, global warming. What are we doing to equip the 7th generation person to have a loving, grateful, joyful human life? How are we going to help them thrive if our vision is all about, oh, I'm only worried about how I thrive? So in November, there's a lot of energy, a lot of debate and discussion about what is our legacy. That's a different word for the same thing, destiny, legacy. What is it we are leaving behind? What is it that the people who exit that month, we've got some significant losses in November, people who will be missed across the world. What's their legacy? What are we going to build from? What are they encouraging us to do, to take action on, to build forward and leave a good future for those coming behind us? Because we certainly won't see I certainly won't see 7 generations forward. Maybe you will if you're watching this, but and you're quite young, but I won't. So, and alongside that, helping us is the god of the underworld. He comes along when something which no longer serves you is about to end. And for me, you know, what I'm looking at is his eyes, is his third eye, you know, his illumination. He's illuminating what needs to end. That short-termism, the idea that we only need to worry about it this month, this year. You know, many people definitely don't think beyond their allotted time span. You know, many people don't debate what would we like it to be like in 100 years. You know, we have science fiction that tries to do that and give us an idea, but actually in our structures, in our connectivity structures, in the ways in which we relate as human beings and govern ourselves, we don't look at what it's going to be like in 100 years. We don't acknowledge that civilizations end, that phases, epochs end. We don't look at it and we don't say, oh, well, what do we want in the future? So in November, this energy from the god of the underworld is to remind us, right, since everything must pass and be reborn, what is it that we're going to work on? And some very sharp lessons. I have to say, one or two collapses of companies that actually make the point. You know, I feel a bit like the dot-com boom type of energy again, where this is the greatest, blah blah blah, and then poof, it's gone. It's gone because it's ephemeral. It's gone because it wasn't built on the right structure. It's gone because it was only of its time and wasn't forward planned. So let's have a look at what goddess energy is going to give us a hand with. Oh, okay, sensuality. Ooh, sensuality, feminine wisdom and passion. When this goddess card comes out, I always think about whether we nourish ourselves, whether we look after our physicality, and whether we encourage ourselves to bring that passion to what we do. Not sexual passion, because there's many different kinds of passion, but a creative passion, using kind of the understanding, the wisdom that we've got about how to create. So for me, November is very much about bringing forward the passion to create better environments for ourselves, to recognize that it may take time to divest ourselves of the old structures. And if we want to do things more in the round, in different ways, then we have to kind of apply our wisdom and passion to the planning. Okay, maybe one or two sex scandals kicking in November. And the interesting thing is, it harks back to the energy of masks and hiding and agendas. And when you are looking after you, you recognize and you step back from your agendas that are destructive. And so you use the power and the passion to set up patterns that are constructive for you. Interesting for November. Right, last month, December. Where are we going to be in December? Card. That thing wants to come out. Okay. Moving on. That's a good one for December. December is always a month of moving on, because we're going into a new year. But I hope that you'll find the December energy helps you to put the events of 2023 into a positive perspective. It's a backdrop of the ways in which we are, bit by bit, as a human race, learning to move on, groping our way gently forward, testing each step, trying to work out what is the best for all of us, trying to encompass everybody's needs, and looking at the ways in which we want to build for the future. It feels like a positive month. I have to say, December is always a difficult month because there are lots of celebrations, lots of festivals in that you know, from mid-November to mid-January, that are all about community and coming together and celebrating the love. But they're often overshadowed with a lot of the material woes and worries. So it can be a bit of a muddle of energy. But definitely underneath from this card, this moving on card, that sense of I'm ready to let this year's lessons and this year's wisdoms go. I'm ready to move into the next year. So supporting us through December will be the goddess of psychic protection. It's one of my disciplines for December to really make sure I am protecting my energy. This goddess says, what you believe you create, no one can harm you. So it's very important in moving on that you recognize that maybe you've created some of the stuff that's been going on in your life, and that you've responded to other people's energies in ways that maybe you hadn't anticipated wanting to or needing to. And that what you can do is you can step back from it and say, right, I'm going to look after my energy. I'm going to make sure I'm living in the positive flow and addressing what you believe, addressing the reality that, yeah, thought manifests. Again, we're back to doing some work on thinking, doing some working on, do I have to think this way? Why did people say this is the right way to think? Or why are people saying think this, not that? Again, just looking at that whole sense of, is my intention for my highest and best good, or am I getting swamped by the stuff that's on the shadow side? So let's have a goddess card. Oh, Circle of Eternal Joy. I love this one as well. Timelessness, dance of life. One of the things for me about the winter solstice in December is it's a cycle complete. It's the shortest day. We've gone from the longest day to the shortest day, and we're beginning a trip back into the light, which is why we have so many light festivals around that time. Winter's also a time for reflecting and thinking about what year we've had and thinking about ourselves. What is lovely about midwinter is that it is timeless. When we lose the light and we're in the sort of the dark of the day most of the time, it reminds us we've got this duality, and it reminds us that there's a dance to life, that there are different parts to life. And what we can have, if we remember it's a cycle, the circle of life, is that we can have eternal joy. Because underneath that circle, and there's a beautiful circle on the card, what that circle encompasses in a sense is eternity, because we're eternal beings. So this aspect of the divine feminine is reminding us we are eternally connected to a source of love, and that we can have within our material world a circle of that love and connection. And when we're thinking about the next cycle, the moving on, it's not an ending to be feared or worried or anxious about or depressed about even. It's an ending so we can have a new beginning. And I do feel that what ends in December is some of the hatred and some of the divisiveness, that what will have emerged in 2023 is the best bits of humanity, the best bits of all of us saying, no, we don't want the fear, the hatred, the fighting, the division. What we want is we want this beautiful, joyful, peaceful way of existing, and that we're going to commit to continuing to work hard to bring that in. Lovely card to finish on. So I hope that those notes about the year will help you and guide you through 2023. Please come back and look at it anytime you like, and or make notes or whatever. What I do in my planner, I actually have a planner, and I write down each month what the energy is going to be, what the cards tell me the energy is about, because it gives me a way of understanding, an insight that when I'm in the thick of it, I might not get if I hadn't already planned to have that insight. I hope that you get your insight. I hope that you can subscribe to my channel and enjoy some of the videos and the playlists and things. And you can find me on Facebook. I have a website, www.annieconboy.net. I'm available for readings, healings, teachings, do all sorts. I'm an intuitive artist and creator, and I've got various Facebook pages, business pages, well, pages, community pages. You're more than welcome to join, and I hope that you enjoy a very positive 2023. Bye.